Hello and welcome to this edition of Assembly Calendar. I'm Ad Vischer. Assembly Calendar is an opportunity that we have a chance to sit down and discuss with members of the New York State Assembly on issues of importance, both at home and of statewide significance. Today we are sitting down with newly elected State Assemblyman Jake Ashby. Jake represents the 107th Assembly District, which is part of the Capital District, Rensselaer, Columbia, and Washington counties. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is, of course, the Assemblyman's first Assembly Calendar taping for 2018 and for his first career here at the New York State Assembly. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about himself, his family, and how he got into politics. Mr. Ashby, nice to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on
Thank
being
you.
elected to the New York State Assembly. It's always an honor. You were elected in late April of this year.
Yep.
So you've been down here for about a month or so. Talk to us about your experiences so far and what you think of the place.
Well, I'm still getting my feet wet, but it's been good so far. Everybody's been very cordial, and it's been a learning experience. And I think it's good going into it kind of at this point too, because you get an opportunity to meet people before it starts up again in January. So you get a little taste of it, and then you roll right back into the campaign season, and that's what we're about to do.
So tell us, so the folks at home who may not be familiar with you and your background, talk to us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to enter politics, get involved in politics.
Well, I grew up in Castleton, New York. I moved back there eventually with my wife, Christy, and our two kids. I teach at Maria College. I'm an occupational therapist by trade, and I teach in the occupational therapy department there. I have a master's in business administration geared towards healthcare management from Union Graduate College. I was in the Army for 8 years, Army Reserves. I deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, and I spent some time in Africa as well.
Thank you for serving our country.
Thank you for your support. I served as a civil affairs officer, so the details of what that type of position entailed was I had a 5-man team, and we were attached to an airborne infantry company in Afghanistan. We patrolled with them daily and served as liaisons between the combatant commander and local nationals. And we worked with local government there, working on different projects that they need, worked on developing kind of a social networking process in the local villages. And in Africa, we did a lot of humanitarian work, supported medical missions that went on there, and worked with local villages and local leaders in there to ensure that they were getting the best possible care that they could, and making sure that they were organized correctly so they had adequate patient flow. We were providing education, and then we were also coordinating with the local defense forces there, helping them understand civil action and civil action plans that could go on within their districts.
And how long were you in the armed forces? You're still a current?
No. I got out in 2014. I was in for 8 years.
I think it's so important that for anyone who has lived in this country and knows nothing but this country to step out of it to get a good feel as to how the rest of the world works.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely gave me an opportunity, not even with going abroad, but just working with different people from all over the country and all over the world. Some people immigrated here and then joined the service, and you get to understand their perspective, and you all have one team, one fight. You'd hear that phrase in the Army frequently. So it was a tremendous opportunity in that regard, and it was a privilege to be able to lead them as well.
So tell us a little bit about how you got involved in politics and some of the issues that you really hope to focus on in the coming months.
So how I got involved in politics a couple years ago. I got involved in a local election, a village election, and I kind of stumbled on it. It was somebody that I knew, an older woman who was running for village trustee, and I helped her campaign. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going door to door, and I found meaning in it, really. And after I got out of the service, it was hard. I taught, and I had my own practice as an occupational therapist, which I still do. And I derived meaning out of that, but I was surprised in the satisfaction that I got in going out and helping people at a very intimate and local level. And I enjoyed it, and I kept going with it. And people made different suggestions to me, saying, "Hey, you should try this. You should talk to this person." And I was surprised at what we were able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. And my family, they saw it as an extension of my passion to serve. So I think they got behind me on it. And when that happened, I knew that it was the right fit for me.
Some of the issues, clearly we have a number of pressing components, legislation that really in the state, issues that could be solved moving forward, high taxes, job creation, economic development. I'm sure those issues are close to your heart as well.
Yes, and especially in upstate and specifically in Rensselaer County across the river, I think a lot of people believe and share this belief that it's been neglected, that this governor in particular has had some disdain for across the river, and it shows. It shows in Hoosick with the water contamination over there, how long it took him to get over there. It shows in the city of Rensselaer with the Dunn landfill over there. And the sad thing is that there's a lot of opportunity over there. There's a lot of opportunity for growth, and I hope to be able to capitalize on that. I think we have a lot of good leaders over there. Steve McLaughlin, as county exec, is doing a tremendous job in trying to bring Rensselaer County back to where it once was, and we're gaining traction in that.
Economic development, job creation, and as a business owner,
yes,
you certainly are very familiar with taxes and the high cost of doing business in the state.
Oh, it's oppressive. That's the adjective that I would use to explain or detail the business climate, especially in upstate New York. Anecdotally, my small business, when I registered for a veteran small-owned business, I got a contract with New York State through the Department of Taxation and Finance, and it was through the Medical Indemnity Fund, and I was one business for this entire region to get this contract. And over the course of 3 years, I got 0 referrals from it. So it was an empty shell. So I know firsthand what these programs can be like. I'm sure there's other people who've had different experiences, but in my experience and the people that I've talked to throughout my district, that's something that we can share. And it needs to be changed, whether it's through decreasing taxes, whether it's through bringing large businesses into the community. You need to develop a climate that's going to encourage growth, and right now we don't have that.
Well, along the lines of economic development, that topic, you recently toured the University of Albany's East Campus, in fact, on June 8th, and you are in discussions with the State Department of Health regarding a new Wadsworth Center facility. Apparently there's some talk, a couple of locations in play. Talk to us about how that tour went, how your meeting went, and what you hope to see happen there at the East Campus.
Well, it's a tremendous opportunity for the district and for the citizenry surrounding upstate. Wadsworth and SUNY have had a tremendous relationship over decades, whether it's through research and education. It's produced a Nobel laureate, so I don't think we can argue with the results there. And the resistance and keeping that relationship and closing the proximity on that, I can't understand that, because it's proven so valuable to our constituents around here. So we're trying to close that gap. We're trying to bring Wadsworth into East Greenbush, into our area. It's a $750 million project. It would provide many jobs and a lot of opportunities for research as well. And when we look at this area in particular, we're ground zero for tick-borne illness. And when we look at the research that Wadsworth is continuing to do, even on a vaccination for Lyme disease, which is starting to be publicized, that's tremendous. Don't we want to build on that? Don't we want a space where these two entities can flourish? Or do we want to put them in an area that's cramped and where they're going to have to fight to expand? It fits right into the small business climate that we have. So I think making the right decision and bringing them to East Greenbush is going to allow them to flourish.
Now, the Wadsworth Center, for folks at home who may not be familiar with what they do exactly, kind of, if you could give us a brief summary of it's research. It's
research. It's the Nobel laureate that they recently had was a biophysicist, and I think he won the Nobel Prize in chemistry, actually. But they do a tremendous amount of research, whether it's through biology, whether it's the vaccine for tick-borne illness.
And I think they work closely with the Centers for Disease Control as well.
They do. They work very closely with CDC. They have a great relationship with DOH as well and HRI.
Biodefense. Yep.
Yes. Homeland Security is involved heavily over there. And they also have a very large nonprofit arm where they allow, they have an incubator process where they allow small business to come in and expand and really engage in research. And again, from my own experience teaching up at Maria College, we engaged with a company that was working out of there, Recoverix, which maps the neuro recovery post-stroke. And that was a tremendous opportunity for the college to have, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that partnership. So even across the river, throughout the area, and the people that are coming in to be a part of that research are benefiting from that.
Now, where do things stand at this point in terms of the project? When, who has to make the decision? I would think it would be the state that makes the final decision on where the center goes.
So that's what we're attempting to find out. Right now, it's a little foggy on where we are in this process. So we're reaching out to the Department of Health. We're reaching out to other key leaders and members that are involved in the process and trying to gain a bearing on where we are in this process to orient ourselves and figure out the next step where this needs to be.
Assemblyman, is there a time frame in terms of when they want to construct this facility, or when they want to build it, or find a location for it?
If there is, I'm not aware of it.
Okay. So you kind of came in at the end of session, so you have just another week as of this taping to go. Significantly, what do you hope to see or hope to have happen? Anything of significance in terms of legislation you'd like to see approved between now and next week?
Well, I've submitted some legislation since I've been here that I'm hoping to get through, a couple of resolutions that are naming landmarks after tremendous people in our community that have passed. Hoping that's going to get through. I also submitted legislation that would allow Purple Heart recipients and veterans with a disability rating higher than 10% free access to state parks. Right now we have a process where they can apply for an application or a card, essentially, and they can get that. And I think maybe citizens of New York may be aware of that, but what about people that are outside? What about all the neighboring states, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire? Throughout this region, there's a lot of people that come to our state parks. I think the burden of proof on them producing that they were a Purple Heart recipient is enough. They shouldn't need to do anything else, and they should be able to get in and enjoy our parks that way.
Absolutely.
Another piece of legislation that I'm trying to push through would allow occupational therapists the ability to treat without a doctor's order. Right now, they can treat, they have to have a doctor's order to treat. They can evaluate without a doctor's order.
Great. But I hate to cut you off, but we are out of time.
Okay. All right.
I'm wishing you much success
in
your career here at the New York State Assembly. Thank you, folks, for joining us at home. Until next time, I'm Ad Vischer.